Welcome, folks. Today we have Mr. Kyle, the OG on the Semantics channel, and the co-host of Doubly Negative. Today we're just going to talk about some stuff. Apologies about the focus issue on my camera. I changed the battery just before we're about to start filming, and we know what happens then. Anyway, enjoy. Yo, it's been a long time, eh?
As indeed.
Welcome back. We're on the channel. We're making videos again. Well, I am. You've been doing it still for a while with Doubly Negative, eh? You and Chris. How's that been going?
Pretty good, man. He's really consistent, and I guess we have some momentum for doing it for a while. So we know we're gonna do it once a week, and we get in touch a few days in advance, and we say which day works for you. And then if we're a little bit late, it's just kind of given that it's gonna happen. So we just stick to that once a week thing, and we haven't missed one. And yeah, we seem to have a pretty good rhythm, pretty good flow with each other, and yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Do you plan it out? Do you plan it out, or do you just wing it?
No, we were doing more of that earlier on. We would kind of talk about it beforehand and say, well, what do you want to talk about at this time or whatever. But the same thing kept happening every time, which is we would talk about that, but like the more planned it was, the more forced it felt, and then I don't, it actually just seems to work better if we don't plan it. I don't know why exactly. Maybe it's like
Yeah, no, I mean I get it. Like, 'cause we talk, we talk pretty regularly, right?
yeah,
We talk about like what's going on in our lives, and it kind of like helps steer the conversation, just like gossip and normal life, right?
yeah,
Like what are our times in the gym, and everyone knows this is like the people that talk more than lift.
yeah. Yeah, I guess it's like every day we have something on our minds anyway in our own personal lives. And then if you can talk to someone, like you and I have good conversations, I have good conversations with Chris, like you can draw out that in each other, and then you're going to get the best conversation you can have that day because you're talking about what's actually on your mind. Whereas if you go in
Yeah,
with something that you planned, it's like it's gonna feel more forced for me anyway.
dude, I feel like that. I feel like so many YouTubers and folk making content, like especially, I understand why so many do topics that are like hot right now,
Mm,
because it feels like they have so much more passion to do it rather than people making video essays about like something that they think, all right, this will be good, this will be good for this, and because I watch YouTube all the time and I see a lot of people just seem like fucking soulless. Like they're just making content for content, right? For content's sake, unless they're talking about the thing that is happening now, because they're like, wow, let's get on the wave. So I totally get it, which is like doing topics that you feel like it's not what you really want, and yeah. So I've already felt that. I felt that before doing certain stuff, certain videos, and other projects over the years, where it's like the time is gone where you were interested in it. Now you're like interested in something else. So you got to keep that discipline to actually follow through. So yeah. Whereas talking like this is more fun. It's less like work and more like just hanging out while recording it. So yeah, and that's what you do with Chris. Less like work, more like hanging out.
yeah, and it's kind of depressing to think about because the other way that you're talking about, that's what works. Like the soulless way, the kind of like trying to game the algorithms. What I'm trying to do, I don't think it's ever gonna work in a depressing way. Like I guess when I people I really like to listen to that are people that like are really honest. They really speak their minds. But I found them because they were already famous from comedy or something. If you're starting out like I am, not famous from anything, how are people ever going to listen to me? You know what I mean? Like it's a harebrained scheme. It's not even really a scheme, but I can't do the other way.
Well,
I just
dude, I do think about that. I think like, can everyone be famous, right? And
no,
obviously not.
no.
But can more famous people exist? Like when you have the ratio of people in the planet, right? Which, I already made a video about like the population on the decline soon, right? But back in the past, you have, if you had 100,000 people in a city or something, and there's only a certain amount of famous people because, you know, you might know a lot of people, but there's only like the famous folk. But then you think, is there enough space for another person in this town to be famous? Well, the population over the past years has increased like crazy. So then there's always more people to 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 follow that person, because you think, is YouTube and all that other shit like saturated? Is online so saturated that how could you ever have a following, and how could people ever, follow you and follow other people at the same time? But there's always more people, and there's always more circles, I think. So, for me, it's like motivating. It's motivating to think, fuck it. If you're not famous from being a comedian or whatever, then you're always, if you're gonna keep putting content out, there's always gonna be people that'll follow you because there's so many people on this planet.
True. And the other, yeah, it's an interesting point. And the other advantage is not only people, but what we're really talking about is attention time. And the biggest factor, I think, over the last few years, and maybe it's, I don't know, maybe longer than a few years, but screen time. And even personally, the amount of time I spend watching YouTube and shit has increased hugely. So every single person is following more people now. So even if you had the same number of people as 10 years ago, now you have more people that are famous just because people spend more time watching shit in general.
Yeah, like self-published famous. That's
Yeah.
because we had all the massive industry media stuff for God knows how long, like over 100 years or whatever. But to self-publish before was like, it's literally impossible
Yep.
to do that, to get your name around the world. No internet, you know, all that other stuff. So yeah, but there's still space if the content is good. I believe if the content is good and you just get it enough, right? But it just depends what the aspirations are. So I had like a couple of topics from a mate of mine back in Scotland, and we actually started brushing over one of them, which was like just work and just working and working and not really doing what you want to do. And it's like getting yourself into a good position is hard work, because a lot of people just do a job, right? And they're just like, hey, this is my job, this is my life, and this is good enough. You know what? I can't imagine myself working more, so this is the amount of money that I'm gonna get forever until I retire. Whereas you got the people that have massive aspirations. You have to work more, I think, at the start, but once you get, after years, into the position where you're getting a lot more money, I don't think you take on more, right? Like when we're in the gym, you think, how could you get to 100 kilogram bench press? That, like, you're already doing, like, as a teenager, you're already doing like 50 kilograms. Like, man, there's no way. Twice as much. Like, I'm already sweating so hard, I'm so tired. But once you get to 100, you realize, wow, I don't feel like I'm working more. I just feel like I've just got to a different level now, And I can imagine doing 120. I can imagine the next level, And do you think that a lot of people in this world just get to a point where they've taken on the house, the mortgage, and all these kids and the work, and they're like, I can't do more. Like, I don't have time for that. How could I do artwork? How could I do anything else? Like, there's no way. How could I take a holiday for a few months, I'm already full, right? What a messed up question. There's no question on the end.
there's a lot there. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot. Um, One of the first things it makes me think is that I heard this in some self-help thing, but the idea is that whatever you have right now is actually what you want. And the idea behind it is that there's so much information now that whatever you want, you pretty much know how to get. It's just a matter of actually doing it. And if you're not doing it and you're doing nothing, like for me, the last few months I haven't really done much. I spent a lot of time playing video games, just being lazy, whatever. But on some level, even though I wasn't happy with myself, that's what I wanted because that's what I was doing. Um, and I think that applies to pretty much everybody in almost every situation. Like unless you're truly not free, you're in some like dictatorship government or you're shackled by something, you're pretty much free to do what you want. So pretty much are doing what you want. I don't know if that makes sense or it applies to what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about this before, like last month or so, and yeah, it's a hard line of like you're doing you're doing what you want, but is what you want really what you want, or
Mm,
is it just what you have?
right.
And that's the point where we got to before. Are you just doing what you think you're only capable of? And if you thought that you were capable of more, and you could really see different possibilities, would you be making a different decision right now? You know, how easily are you um how easily are you uh not manipulated, sorry, your situation, how easy is your situation changing what you want to do, you know? If you had no laptop, right? If you're a caveman, you're not going to be thinking about playing like RimWorld, you know, every day. You'll be doing something else. You
Right.
something else useless, right? So, influence, yeah. How much does your surroundings influence what you want to do? You know what I mean? I think it affects it greatly.
Yeah, it's almost the whole thing.
Yeah. So, is what you want to do just what you have right now? That's what I'm getting to.
Me personally or in general the world.
I mean, we can talk about you since you're the expert at that.
Am I?
Yeah. I mean, surely, right? Who else is?
It's I don't know. I really envy people that have a very clear motivation, purpose, direction in their life. They say, I want to make this and they know how they're gonna get there. And I just haven't really felt like that. Even when I've been more driven in my work or creating stuff, I never had that driving force behind me that a lot of people seem to have. And for me, I'm just being honest, right? It's not really what I'd want, but it really varies day by day. Some days I just like, yeah, this is fine, and then other days I wish I could create something, or yeah, I really yeah, it really varies.
You know, we've talked before about thinking what you want, right? We talked about like, um, yeah, seriously, this is what you want, and you know, you always have some sort of vision, some sort of vague vision of like what would be good. Like if this happened, wow, that would be good. But it's never like if that doesn't happen, that would be a devastation, you know? Cuz yeah, that's what it seems to be from from what we've talked about mostly is that it seems like anything goes at the moment, you know?
Well, it's a tough topic, and it's so deeply personal, and that's why sometimes I'm not a fan of the like speaking about the larger population in general. Like we say, well, so many people live their lives like this, and there does seem to be a general discontent with a lot of the population working jobs they don't like or whatever. And I think there probably is a lot of truth to that. But at the same time, you can't really look at any one person and say, well, they're not doing the right thing for them. And I've really been starting to
Yeah,
think
of course. Yeah.
more and more like this as I've been getting deeper into the meditation thing, and just I don't know. There's such a paradox, I think, between wanting to achieve some, like having a purpose in your life. That's clearly a good thing, but then also having gratitude for what you have, and desire is actually the enemy of happiness. Right? I'm thinking of one friend that we know of at the gym. Right? Like he's not going to be happy until he has something. So it is this paradox, and I haven't solved it, but I don't think the answer is I need to get this or I'm not happy. Um, yeah, it's
No,
really complicated.
yeah, dude, like we we with our whole family have gone through this thing like just for years and years of either my brother talking to me or my brother talking to my dad or me talking to my dad talking to my brother. It's like it's we've thought like, and we've even criticized each other for the same thing of like why why are you not happy like now with what you have now, and even when you reach such a high level of something, like it only lasts for like a day,
Yeah,
and then it's like the next thing. um and when I first moved to Bali, man, like that year, even though it was tough and it was kind of like pretty like confusing to be honest, that was the first time I ever thought this is how I could live without trying to be someone. Like this is the first time I could ever feel relaxed about like not trying to. I can only be happy until I get this thing,
yeah,
right? That was the first time ever.
yeah.
Which that's why it was so addictive, because it's like, man, you could just have everything right now, you know, everything you want. Um, but there is something in my brain that would never let me rest. Just that's why I kind of had like an obsession about Tony Stark, Iron Man, because he had that thing where it's like no matter what situation he was in, he's trying to have a family and trying to just have a normal life. You can't ever let go. So he ended up just doing that until his death, which I don't want to have that. But um, yeah, each person has their own thing, and for me, I just can't. I can't do it. I can't not progress with something and have challenges. Just like when you're playing a game and the enemy team is like just shit, and you're just smashing like all the time. It's not fun. You need the competition. So that's an interesting point. Do you feel like you have competition in your life right now?
Yeah, well, that is a good point you make, and I think there is a an important distinction to be made too. Um, when I'm talking about not needing to achieve something, I think that's different from just not using your body and your mind at all. Because even if I'm not trying to achieve something today, I still I think you have a certain amount of energy per day or whatever, and you have to use some of it, or you're gonna go backwards, and that's very mentally and physically painful. The like entropy, I think, is the word for it. Is like you kind of wasting
Yeah.
away, and that's not good. But even if I wasn't like creating a business or something, I could still work out, read, meditate, all sorts of different things to just kind of, like you said, keep the challenges there. Um,
Yeah.
and as long as some of I can always find those things as long as I have some of those. I think it's okay. But then at the same time, the part of the paradox is like the more I get myself mentally okay, probably the more I'll want to take on more stuff too. So I'm right in the middle of it right now. We're just coming out of kind of a low period. I really don't have it figured out at all.
What do you think? That's an interesting point because do you think like if fuck it, not Santa Claus, man, like Santa Claus came down and said, "Hey, we're gonna go on an adventure. You know, pack your bags." Does the sound of that excite you? You know, if someone called you to an adventure,
Santa Claus?
or does that sound, or does it sound like work? If someone like Santa Claus or some other person just came down, right, and they had some fucking quest, would that be interesting?
Um, I think I'd go on the quest.
Yeah, because fuck it, why not, right? But you think who wouldn't go on the quest? People that are already on the quest, like because they're like what they're doing is more important than anything, and that's pretty much what I want to do, what I want to get to, because you watch a lot of these films.
Hey man, fuck you, dude. If Santa Claus comes to you, I don't care what film you're working on. If you're not going on the quest, you're an asshole. I don't want to be friends with you.
It's gonna it's well if he has the time travel capability, then it can make it quick, right? We can have a quick one.
Dude,
Oh, I
it's
got
it's
back to
Santa Claus, all right? The
back to
film can
business.
wait. You can come back to the film.
Fuck, but I already see my granddad like enough, so
All right. Yeah, and I get your
right.
point anyway. But still.
Um, if you let's see, like yeah, so you got these films. You got these films where it's like some young kid or some teenager kid, right? And they're just like, you know, typical in a small town, or even the Hobbit story. Hobbit guy, Bilbo's like bored, and he's like, man. And then Gandalf comes along, and he's like, "Let's go, Bilbo," and he's like, "All right, let's go. What? Let's go." But if he went over to like, you know, another wizard, they're not gonna go along. So, anyway, this is a really stupid point trying to like compare these films to this, but
I see the
it
point.
is interesting how many people that would like, you know, people want to win the lottery because they're like, that's gonna make my life change like that, right? Quick fix. And if you have someone coming along and is like, hey, I got an adventure for you, you know, would you drop everything and just do it? That's like the gold digger girls, eh? Going to Dubai. That's like they're going on the Tinder or Instagram and they're like, let's get a fly along, you know? You don't have to work for it. But we do, so
I did so for meditation lately I'm using Sam Harris's app, Waking Up. It's one of the most popular apps and he has all these he'll have like a guided meditation and then he has courses. And the one I was listening to today was about gratitude. That's why I mentioned it. One point I think was really helpful for me. I thought it's kind of relevant here. It talks about gratitude and I've heard about gratitude for so many years. So many people say you should wake up and write three things you're grateful for, right? And it's always kind of difficult for me. Like, yeah, I'm grateful I have a house, and I'm grateful I'm whatever. But he said this is the way he does it, and I really like this. He said instead of thinking about what he's grateful for, he'll think of what if something awful happened to him. What if he just found out he's diagnosed with cancer, or something awful happens, and then he'll imagine how grateful he would feel to be back where he is right now, in
mm,
that scenario. And and I think that's already helping me a lot. Like imagine if we knew this was the last time we would talk. We would.
don't say that, buddy.
Yeah, of course,
Don't say that,
of
bud.
course. But you see my point, right? Like, and I guess this is and again, it's not about like don't strive to get something in your life. It's not about that, but it's also, I guess just appreciate what you have too in the first place, and don't become the wizard that won't even answer Santa Claus. Right? At least hear
Yeah,
Santa Claus out. You don't have to go with him, but just talk to him for a minute.
dude. If you're not gonna speak to Santa Claus, you would have to have a very good reason,
Yeah.
a massive reason. Have you seen the film Don't Look Up?
Yes.
And at the end, he's like, "Wow, we really did have everything."
Yeah. 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 Right.
Yeah, yeah. But if he had a video of that, man, and if he saw himself doing that, well, not really Leonardo's character because he's funny, but if the world saw that video, which is kind of meta because we're talking about like the actual real world saw the film, and it's like they'll see that and be like, "Wow, that's a good film," and then carry on and keep doing whatever they're doing anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like flipping Russia doing what they're doing, trying to get more. That's what it seems to be. This trying to get more, and you think, why wouldn't you just be happy with what you have? But that's not what you know. If you're rich or something, it's not about just like trying to stay rich. It's trying to get more, and you'll become less rich. I reckon if you don't actively try to figure out ways to go about it. So it's like you see stuff in hindsight, and you're like, damn, man, I'm just gonna carry on do what I'm doing anyway. And that's how easy it is to just forget about like all these messages. So that's where it's like a torn between grateful for what you have and knowing that you can do more. But it's like I reckon it's how you go about it rather than should you do more or not. You know, I think it's more about the intention and 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 the attitude that you go about it rather than having an artist who was great that don't want to do it anymore, but they're happy just
Mm,
doing something else, right?
right.
Versus they're they're miserable and they're running out of money and they're just like, I don't want to do art anymore for X, Y, and Z bullshit reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on an individual basis, we'll be able to tell who's lying to themselves or not. So, there's another topic from Mr. Joe. Shout out, and he's been living in Scotland his whole life. He's Scottish. Um, but actually no, he spent about 6 months in New Zealand, so he had some time to see a different world and that. And he goes out and about, and he's a joiner. He builds stuff for people in their gardens and stuff in people's houses, and so he's talking to people a lot. And he's got his own business, and part of his business is to be personable, right? But he talks to a lot of people about how people find it very hard to talk face to face in this modern world, especially in the West. Talking to someone, especially like guys talking to girls, can be like the most terrifying thing ever for some reason. Like it doesn't. I mean, for us, it doesn't really make any sense why you'd be so scared for that, right? Or, you know, people talking to someone who they think is like above them, or like, oh, this person's done all this sort of cool stuff. Oh man, this is scary. Like, and then eventually, this friends talking to each other, and they're not talking at all. Especially guys are so guilty for that, like hanging out with each other, playing games, but they're like, they're not even talking properly. They're just coming out with like memes and all this shit. And I've been there, where it's just near impossible to have a real conversation without people like freaking out. So his question was like, why do people find it so hard to talk face to face and only want to text? They don't want to call, you know. They just want the barrier so much lately. You have any thoughts of what the fuck is going on with that?
Yeah, that's simple.
Yeah.
The we just we get very used to doing what we do all the time. So the more, or rather the less you speak face to face with people, the less comfortable you are doing it. And it seems very relevant to mention the pandemic here. And it reminds me of a freelance job I did last year, I think. And the article was about how I had to cite these studies done in like Psychology Today, like very very reputable sources, and they found that a higher number of people were anxious about face to face interactions. They were more anxious about face to face interactions than they were about the chance of actually contracting COVID. And I think that's just very obviously down to a lack of practice. Any skill, it face to face interaction is like any other skill. The less you use it, the worse it gets, and then the more anxious you are about using it. So that's that's
Yeah,
what's going on.
yeah, pretty simple. And just like porn and all this stuff, you know, why would you why would you go about trying to do all this stuff to relieve yourself when you could just whap on the hub
Yeah,
and you can see like almost any kind of girl you want, you know, and it's like, what's the point now? So people start getting in less and less relationships. I think it was like so many, um, so many virgins, so many more virgins are existing at a time where sexual liberation seems more than ever, right? Would you say that? Would you say so?
I don't know, man. I feel like an old disconnected dude now. I can't even really imagine what it's like to be a kid growing up now, but yeah, like I mentioned the COVID thing, but obviously the other factor is just the screen time thing again. Like we mentioned before, is it seems to me, I don't know, I'm not one of these kids, but it seems to me like they're probably way more comfortable talking to people on the phone than they are in person. So it must be really scary. It already was scary for me when I was a kid, and we weren't on our phones all day. So if you're just not used to doing it at all, it must be damn near impossible. I think that's what's going on, probably.
Dude, I didn't even have a phone that had um, internet or anything until I was like 17. So
Yeah,
it was like, you know, I had like a couple of years with texting
yeah.
only. Um, and I would hardly do that. So everything else was literally like face to face or on the telephone um, or eventually like Bebo or MySpace, you know. But that was like, dude, I had like 10 friends on there, so this it's nothing. But yeah, people do sort of kind of forget that um, sociability is like, you know, it's social skills,
Hmm.
and they think, well, how could this person like go through this? And especially if you know, I have another friend who was born differently, you know, like you know, Asperger's wise, and I did think he was fucking weird. I didn't even know he had it for like 5 years. You know, he didn't tell me, but I just thought he was weird. You know, and who he was and who he became now is definitely a lot different because of social skills and and yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible what people can learn. You know, um, and then it makes you think, wow, what about people who are pretty savvy from like the get go? They could just get away with anything, you know. So they're talking to people face to face, and they're telling you all sorts of shit. And we have a pretty good bullshit detector when someone's talking to us about something, and you're like, are they trying to play us right now? Are they trying to big something up? Or, you know, we mentioned a guy that was back in the gym, you know, Mr. Hype himself. But we can see through it, you know, we can see through that. But so many people just want to live in that world, want to live in the world where, like, it's all fake and, you know, because there's no responsibility. If you know someone's been fake the whole time and then something bad happens, you could just be like, oh, well, they were just being fake, you know. It's hard to, it's hard to really, um, criticize someone harshly or do all that stuff if you think they were being fully genuine, because that person might be a victim of themselves or whatever, versus someone who's being fake, which also could be a victim of themselves, but that it's socially acceptable to be like, they're just fake, they're just lying, they're just like, it's all a facade, Dude, I when I watched your Bangkok, you were in Bangkok, yeah, in Thailand,
Yep.
like years ago, right? And you were talking about the Thai people saving face when you were in the gym trying to you were having a free trial and you wanted to get the 3 months or something, and they were like, no, this price, and you were trying to haggle down for a lower price, and they were like, let's get out, And it's good, man, because you realize pretty quickly that they were trying to just have face on, they were trying to not look like they were gonna back down, right? Eventually, you did get a discount, even lower than what you had through email or whatever. Did you feel like in your life that social skills was so important that you learned it a lot further in your life, and that helped so much actually traveling around the world?
Yeah. Yeah. It started with just girls for me, the social skills thing, because I always wanted girls after puberty, but I had no idea how to get them. And I think it was in college when all my friends were getting girls, and because actually all my friends were virgins with me, so it was like kind of okay, even though I didn't want to be a virgin anymore. And then all my friends started getting laid, and I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with me?" And then I used the old internet, and I found some advice, and I don't know, I kind of devoured it. That PUA stuff, like you can look down on it if you want, but it's good stuff, and that
Yeah.
really changed my life. I was in college when I started learning that stuff, and it applies to way more than just girls. It's like, yeah, social skills, confidence, and how you move about through the world. And yeah, there's no way I would have traveled. I think if I didn't get into that type of stuff, and it's really what I ended up learning is like a lot of people think that stuff is about techniques, like what should you say, what move do you do, or whatever. But it's actually getting out of your own way. It's real confidence is not about having things to say. It's about not having all those mental blocks that like make you freeze up when you want to talk to someone or something. And that was the biggest thing for me, getting out of my own way.
Yeah, because you know that you could do it, right? The memory of winning.
Hmm.
Wow. Ever since I saw that, I was like, damn, you know, using that in like playing some games, and it's like, playing some fast paced FPS, and it's like knowing that you can actually win it and it's not like rigged against you. And it's like, as soon as you start doing it, it's working out, and you're thinking, wow, yeah, the whole world isn't just against me, because people who believe that, right, like the whole world's against them, or only them can't do it, or only them can, is yeah, pretty egotistical, eh? Even in the negative way, where it's like, oh, I could never. Who says that?
Right.
You? So yeah, dude. Cause I pretty early on was like in London with my dad trying to go to these film events, um, social networking and all that stuff, and you got these people who either have been in it for a long time, or they've been in it for like a week, but you have no idea because they're just saying whatever. And you know, to everyone else, we were just saying as much as we could possibly get away with, as well, right? We hadn't been in it that long. We'd just been doing other stuff kind of related to the film industry, but not really. So we were trying to just, exaggerate some things. We weren't ever like fully lying, but it was just exaggeration to the point where it's not gonna hold up in court.
You were lying.
And not the whole truth, but that helped a lot, and it was invaluable to go through the experience of, you know, living in small towns to then being in London for a whole year, trying to work your way through like people getting their films in actual cinemas like now, you know. And eventually we did. We managed to get some stuff in some cinema stuff, right? Which was amazing. But it did take a lot out of me, you know. Um, and I'm pretty sure it takes a lot of people takes a lot out of people doing the PUA stuff as well, where it's like, you know, it must be exhausting to live in a life where it feels like um, all the social interactions, it's just a game, you know, going to clubs, going to things like that, you know, people looking good. Um, for me, it definitely gets old pretty quick, you know, and you start looking for something real, you know.
I guess it depends on your mindset going into it in the first place and what your goals and intentions are. Um, but it's when you say looking for something real,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I'm trying to look for something real, you know, with real connection and actually saying what people want to say without all these crazy things because they have fear of what the other person is going to say or
well, again,
some judgment of their
actually,
own part.
that was the entire lesson for me was it works better when you say what you want to say. It works better when you are real. And the only way I could even begin to be real was it's basically desensitization, and I think that's what you got at the film festival thing too. Is you basically before you even try it, PUA or talking to people you respect, you have this fear
Mm.
that if you fail, you're gonna die or something, and then you go try it and you do fail and you're okay still. So you gain a little bit of confidence and then you keep doing it. And that's all it is. It takes a lot out of you. It's exhausting. But actually it is the path to becoming real because you realize you're okay even if you fail.
Yeah, I guess a bit like being in a gym and
Hmm.
experience the pain of muscle growth, you know.
Yeah.
But just like being in a gym and you're lifting as heavy as you can, eventually you will, you know, get older and stop lifting as heavy as you can, and you start training smarter to save your own body. That's what, you know, a lot of older folks seem to be like that, and I do fear that people in this game for long enough, they'll just be like, "Wow, I've got like no friends. I've got I've got no real connections. They're all just a facade." And as soon as I become someone else, as soon as I like kind of give up this sort of stuff, and people would just not like me anymore because why would they? You know, I'm a different person. You know, and that's the reason why you would want to be real
Yeah.
is because then people actually like, you know, trust you more. So to hammer down on this one particular dude at our old gym, if you know, because we had chats with him, he was like, you know, he was one of those dudes, you know, loud, confident, right, trying to get his looks to be good, tattoos, you know, all that, right. But we talked to him and it's like good, but then it's like bad, like in an instant where he just like it kind of ignores what you just said, or in a weird nervous way, right? And you've almost had good connections with him, but never enough to ever call him a friend, right?
Not even close, no.
Well, we still tried to like invite him to we still tried to invite him to certain things, which I mean people expected him to come, but nah. But he could have been good. He had a lot of stuff in his brain, you know. He was interested in a lot of similar things to us.
Yeah, it's actually very disappointing that he didn't become a friend because yeah, like you said, he is kind of an interesting guy and he does have similar interests to us. But the limiting factor, which I think is what you were basically expressing, is that he's not real with us. the way he's interacting is there's something he's holding back, or there's like you said a facade he's trying to put up, and it's a total barrier to real communication. And the best opportunity we had to become friends was when I went to this cafe, and he just showed up there too. We didn't plan to meet, but he said, "Hey, mind if I sit there?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." And so we had like an hour and a half to like talk, but it was just like it was like pulling teeth, man. It's like just it just wasn't going to happen. And it was a disappointment for sure.
Yeah, I just think he's gonna regret this later, you know. And um, and if it's like if he doesn't have any trust in people to, trust him or be responsible at all, and he's just gonna live this life of image, right? It works now, but I just don't think it's very. I just don't think he's thinking about the future too much. But yeah, that's all the questions from Mr. Joe. One thing that's happened recently is that we both had a time to reflect. Yourself eventually going, taking a trip round Bali with the old girlfriend, and myself, I guess, locking myself in my house for like a month, just doing work and stuff. But we're both out of it now. We're both on the path again. Do you think it's always good to have like a time where you put yourself in like a more of a lower position where your ego is like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit, and I'm happy with it right now? Do you think it's good to kind of like deconstruct yourself occasionally to then figure out actually what you care about?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I've heard depression called like period of analysis and rest and yeah, reconstructing of what you think is important. I don't know if we're talking about depression exactly. For me, maybe. Um, maybe it's healthy. It doesn't feel like something I want to do regularly, but yeah, maybe it's
Well,
necessary.
let's say it's not particularly depression, but more like a burnout, right? If someone is trying to like they're just trying to stop so many things that they've been doing. It might not necessarily be depression, but it might be like some sort of weird diet, or like if you were on a diet for like a few months and then you had like a big binge session, right? But that binge session lasted for like a week. Then we're talking about something else differently than depression, but more like self-indulgence. Really indulging hard on a particular time until you get back on the horse. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it seems like it would be better to just have a sustainable lifestyle where you didn't have those periods. But yeah, I don't know. I always have them.
I mean, it seems, yeah, me too. It seems near impossible to not do that, and to not go through some sort of chance to absolutely turn off,
Our other
you know.
friend had one too. The not the one we're talking about, but the other one. Uh, Tammy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Really?
he's been working real hard, and I met him a couple weeks ago, and he said I hadn't seen him for a long time, and he said he was working so hard that he developed these health problems. He started having chest pains, and he got really bad vitiligo, and
What?
yeah, and he had to just
You can
basically
develop,
he had to just like sleep for like 3 days.
bro. Like, what is he doing? What?
He said we had a pretty a lot of the talk was a lot like, similar to what we're talking about here, but he was like He's like, I have this ambition. I have this vision for getting to where I want to be, but I realized how crazy I was because I was up at 3 a.m. reading psychology tactics. And it's like the balance of his lifestyle was just way off because he's so ambitious. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's where you definitely have to figure out how to balance that because you know you go from your urges to long-term ambition. I guess that's what I'm really talking about. Like when you let your your urges take over. Sometimes it's good for a short amount of time just to be free of your own, you know, precision of trying to make everything perfect, right? But um, I think stuff like this can last a lot longer than it should do. But man, poor Femi, going, he's taking that like grind set to the extreme.
He really is,
But
man.
dude, that I mean, last year all that Sigma stuff, Sigma grind set stuff started getting like massive, right? And we started talking about it before it really started getting like to the meme level
Yeah.
because, but those videos of like wake up at 3 a.m. da da da, like those have been around for years, but it didn't have a name. It just had like rich asshole dude, like son of a CEO thing with a Lamborghini. Um, but last year I managed to get into actual Sigma grind set shit, and we were joking about it, but like we were never like doing it because to be honest, it sucks. It just sucks to be like grinding because the whole word grinding is not great, right? You want to be like you want to have a good gear system with a ball bearings that are all lubricated, right? Grinding away is that you're up at 3 a.m. like Femi, hurting yourself. And now what happened? And every time I start trying to grind in anything, I have a massive crash, and it could last for a week, a month, or whatever. And it's just so hard to get back on it, dude. Back at the end of 2019, when I broke up with Hannah, right? That 7 month girlfriend, and I was working so hard and all this stuff, and eventually decided to go on a big dopamine thing for like a month. And after that, when I went back to Britain, it was like near impossible to do any work because I was so desensitized to, you know, as far as I know, dopamine is the thing that makes you want to do something, right? Is the anticipation of what you're gonna get when you or dopamine released when you're going to get what you want to get. What's next, right? And I had none of that. I had nothing. There was nothing I wanted next. So I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do anything, and it was horrible. Having that hedonistic lifestyle. And I talked about one of my friends, the one that has the same birthday as you. Um, I keep warning him about not going too hard on the hedonistic lifestyle, um, because your time management is going to be fucked,
Is he still banging a bunch
and
of chicks?
it has, yeah,
Nice.
his time management is he said it's not been the best. So I think he knows what I'm talking about, and I think he's thought about it. So, but it's you have to let them do that. Like if someone's gonna break up with their girlfriend, they they have to have some time where they do something, go on a night out or
Yeah, it's
whatever.
a
But when
beautiful
it
time.
lasts for like a month, yeah, but it can only last for so long
Ah,
before,
it can last as long as you
like,
want it to.
dude, yeah.
This isn't really valuable content, but I was just wondering about the Sigma thing. Like all the Sigma stuff I've seen has always been kind of meta and ironic. Did Sigma start as serious and now it's developed into this meta thing?
Before, I mean, before it had a name, it was supposed to be serious. Yeah, it was supposed to be like it. Well, it was supposed to be serious for the viewer. It for the actual like CEO, child. I'm not quite sure. I mean, there's so much of that shit that's like absolutely fake. There's no
Well, it's
way that they're
hilarious.
doing all that
That's
stuff.
why I love it.
Yeah, but
It's like making fun of that stuff.
it's so no, no. But before that, it was supposed to be just purely serious and
Yeah,
motivational,
yeah,
right? But it's so ridiculous that it can't be real. So then it's like, oh, it must be fake.
right.
So then it's like, that's where you start getting Patrick Bateman
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
doing all that, you know, um, Sigma, absolute Sigma, like preparing himself for the day ahead, interrupted by his secretary, time
Yeah.
to kill her for no reason, right? So I think it started off serious, but then it's just there's no way. But there are a lot of Sigma content creators that are actually trying to be like, all right, this is an alpha, this is a Sigma, this is what 50 Cent would do, and this is what Jay-Z would do, you
Yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. Femi
50
shared
Cent,
one of those videos.
50,
He loves those guys.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, 50 Cent would be like showing everyone
He's
how good
alpha,
he is, and if
Jay-Z's
someone,
sigma.
right?
Yeah,
And Jay-Z's just doing stuff in the
he doesn't
background,
care. Yeah,
which that's useful, but not the murder your whole family,
yeah,
kill, you know, foreigners for no
yeah.
reason,
No,
for
that's the
fun.
best stuff though. That's so
Sigma
funny.
grinds. But I think it helps it going, you know? That memes help stuff get popular.
Yeah,
Just like the memes in the crypto, like all these Wojak stuff, and it's so fucking funny.
yep.
But it's funny because it's real. It's like it has a massive basis of truth in it,
Yeah, because you're
you know?
pointing out the yeah, because the sigma stuff and the crypto stuff, it's like there is truth there, but there's also something to be made fun of. And then when you make fun of that, it's when that's what really catches on
Yeah.
because everybody sees that and they're like that's bullshit, and then you make a meme out of it. And it's like that's what really pops. And I think that's why that Sigma stuff got so big is because there's such a big part of social media that loved like bragging about daily routines. I think it was the daily routine thing, like wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, read a book, da da da. And then at some point, everybody's like, you do all that stuff, you don't have any time to actually work. And that's when the meme was born,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And that's why the Sigma Trillionaire, the Instagram account I love, it's like daily routine. Wake up at 3 a.m., watch Wolf of Wall Street 4 times on 0.5 playback speed. Masturbate for 10 hours. It's just become a complete mockery now, but it's brilliant.
Fucking um, wake up, have your ritualistic pissing session, get out of bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since I moved away from where you are, like pretty much stopped talking about Sigma stuff completely
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
because it's like, yeah, fuck. But there's no way that I can like live like that anyway. This man. But I try my best to think like, all right, I'm not trying to grind, but if I watch a whole film while eating dinner, that's not going to be good for work at all, and I don't need that much amount of time. You know, eat your dinner like in like I don't know, 10 minutes, bro. You don't need another hour and a half
Yeah, yeah.
to sit there. But I do it because I love films and I love procrastinating. And dude, I've even procrastinated on stuff that is exactly what I want to do all the time. And you think, why would I want to do it? And a lot of the time, I talk to my brother about like the fear of success, and that's been horrible. Especially when you first get into crypto and you think about potential gains and potential trades, and you don't do it because you think maybe you can't handle the amount of money that you could have and what that means now.
I am not afraid of that
And I
at
know it
all.
seems that,
I am not afraid of that.
dude,
That's
I know it
crazy.
seems insane, but me and my brother have experienced the same exact thing. We've done trades that have completely messed up and not done stuff because we were just too afraid to go through the responsibility of what it would be like to go from 1,000 to like 10,000.
That's
And I've
ridiculous. I don't believe you.
seriously,
Like what?
but not like last year, in May, there's a coin called NKN, right? and I put $1,000 into it, and as soon as I did it, it went down because I was like a noob, right? And I was like, wow, this is scary. This is the first time I put 1,000 to anything. And I was just trying to like day trade it, right? So for it to go down and to be down a whole day is not good. Now your whole day is like gone. You can't trade it because it, right? Eventually, it got back up to the same point 24 hours later. And I was like, fucking nice. I managed to get the money back. And do you know what happened to the price, the market price of that for the next 2.5 weeks? It went up 600%. But I never got in because I was just too scared of what happened before. What about if it goes down?
Yeah, that's not really fear of success then. That's fear of losing money.
No, but the thing is, I could see the graph. I could see the peaks and valleys. I could see the 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 personality of that graph, and I could have got in. I could have put in 100. I could have put in anything, and just let it in there, but I didn't.
And you really think that's
You
because you
know,
were afraid of making money?
I was afraid of yeah. I was afraid of what would happen on the next steps. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Just
I
have
don't
more
know.
money. Just give it to me, man. If you're that
The
afraid, just
more
like make the money and then send it to me. It's no problem.
the more money you have, the more money you could lose in your brain. You know what I mean? If you put in 100 only, and if you only had 100 to invest, and if that went away, that's fine, right? If you make 100 out of the 100, all right. But if you make from 1,000 into like 10,000, and if you lose that 10,000 now, there's something in our hearts that just was hard to deal with. So yeah, pretty crazy. And
Yeah,
even just completing films and doing other stuff,
yeah,
the fear of success, and even doing the whole talking to girls, especially a girl that you think like nah, she wouldn't, right? If there's a chance, but you don't do it because you're just scared of like being in a vulnerable position.
mm,
So yeah, because the lack of experience, dude, the lack of experience,
right. Yeah, you've never been there
that
before.
was it. But now this year is in a different position, and I've been telling you about all sorts of crazy, ridiculous crypto things now. So yeah, it's different in a different
Yeah, if,
place,
if
more
I
time
buy
in the game.
if I buy Seifu coin right now, and then all the people that watch this video buy it, that'll help both of us, right?
Yeah, we'll just fucking sell it, and we'll sell it, put some FUD on it, and then buy back the FUD.
Do it.
But yeah, man, that was good talk.
Yeah,
That was good talk. And as I say, I know it's late over there,
getting
and
there.
but our time zone is gonna be closer. It's gonna be 7, real soon. 7 hours difference instead of 8,
Why is that?
because the times change here
Oh yeah.
for the farmers.
I guess they just never change here. I don't even know.
No, they don't, because why would they? Because the sun doesn't really change what time it sets
Right.
much, versus like the where I am, which is like hours, from like 10, potentially 10 to like 6. So that's 4 hours difference. But yeah, man, that was good. That was good. And yeah, the first interview call back on this channel. I'm happy. I'm happy to keep it going, and I'm glad that you're continuing to build Doubly Negative as well. And yeah, you're gonna be all over the place.
Well, thank you for
Like
having me
COVID.
on, buddy. I'm honored.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks for watching our update, and thanks to Mr. Kyle for coming on, and also thanks for Mr. Joe for giving me some questions. If you have any questions for the next video, just let me know in the comments, or just send me a message somewhere. All right, toodaloo, guys.